Akshepascha samadhanam vyakyanam panchalakshanam. அப்படின்னு சொல்றார். பதச்சேதா பதார்த்தோக்திர் விக்கிரகோ வாக்கிய யோஜனா. ஆக்ஷேபஸ்ச சமாதானம்னு ஒரு பாடம் இருக்கு. ஆக்ஷேபஸ்ய சமாதானம் வியாக்கியானம் பஞ்சலக்ஷணம் அப்படின்னு இருக்கு. அதனால வியாக்கியானங்களை பண்ணும்போது என்ன பண்ணுவா, அவளே ஒரு ஆக்ஷேபத்தை உண்டு பண்ணிப்பா. இப்படி ஒருத்தர் கேட்டால் அதுக்கு இதான் பதில். So when Vyakyanam is commentary, when our preceptors, the great holy preceptors, Purvacharyas, when they do Vyakyanam, what they do is they will ask the question themselves on behalf of somebody, saying that in case if somebody is asking this question, here is the answer. That's how they compose the commentaries. So that style is known as the preemptive style. It's known as the preemptive style. That means you don't allow anybody to ask the question, because you are already asking the relevant question in the given context, and you progress by answering them. So when a person is actually attending or going through a session on such commentary, it ensures that when the right time comes, they know that at this juncture somebody will definitely come up with this question. They anticipate that and they answer that. So when it answers those kind of questions, the person feels so confident that look at the way they have covered all these questions. It's a preemptive style. That is the best style, because you don't allow people to ask, and in those days they won't ask irrelevant questions. They had discipline, they were well educated, they were grown up in such a fashion that they don't throw some random questions and connect random dots, or at least try to. They don't do that. So we'll have a session like that. First of all, our best wishes on the occasion of Swamy Thiruvaimozhippillai, who was the great Acharya of Swamy Manavala Mamunigal. His birthday was yesterday, Vaikashi Visakam. And then our Prapanna Jana Kuthasthar Swamy Nammazhwar, who is the Moola Purusha of this entire sampradayam. Without Nammazhwar, this sampradayam does not exist. There is no sampradayam known as Srivaishnava sampradayam. All other Alvars are considered to be his avayava, that is Nammazhvar's limbs, Nammazhvar's body parts, his organs. He is known as avayavi. Mata, Pita, Yuvatayaha, so says Alavandar, hailing this Paramacharya. And when it comes to defining Nammazhvar, Bhutam Sarascha Mahadahve Bhattanatha Shri Bhaktisara Kulashekara Yogi Vaha Bhaktangrirena Parakala Yatindra Mishran Srimat Parangushamuni. So when you say Parangushamuni, the entire battalion of all the Alvars are covered, as they are part and parcel of his Divya Mangala Vigraha. So Vaikasi Vishakam is also the holy birthday that every Shri Vaishnava should celebrate. The holy birthday of Swamy Nammazhwar as well. And today is a much more grand day to celebrate this Vaikasi Anusham, the star, the holy birthday of Swamy Parasara Bhattar and his younger brother Sri Ramapillai. These birthdays, many people ask, what is there in a birthday? Because in Upadesha Ratnamala, the main focus is on the first thing that Swami starts with is celebrating the birthdays of the great Alvars. So the question is, why we should celebrate birthday of the Alvars? Right? The immediate sensible response to that will be in the form of another question. Why are we even celebrating birthdays of our children or our own self? What is so great in us that we are born and that we celebrate every year? My childhood friend used to say, oh, all these idiots, they celebrate birthday, but it is actually one step further, closer to your death. He used to say casually. That was a striking viewpoint, that you are 1 year closer towards your departure. Are you sure you want to celebrate it? It's the way you look at it. The same half glass, example that people talk about. Optimist says, pessimist says, all those things. The fact remains the same. The question remains the same. Why do we celebrate our birthdays? What is so great in our birth? What have we done at all for anybody in the society or people at large? Right? We are so selfish. We are selfish to such an extent that even those who we claim as our own family are family as long as we need them. And the day when we disown them, we are truly all by ourselves and we are so selfish to the core. That's the bitter reality. So why celebrate the birthdays of Alvars? But the question is, why do you celebrate? It is something that you, for example, if you are celebrating the birthday of your kith and kin, it's a celebration of the moment of joy that you had at the time of their birth. If it is your son or a daughter, that was the day when I became father of the son. That was the day when a son was born for me. So, in remembrance of that particular event that brought you joy. If that is the case, when it comes to Alvars, definitely those who understand their greatness will naturally fall in love of their birthdays, because that was the day when we were also born. How? These are the people who came to uplift us, to take us towards celebration, liberation. So we celebrate them. It is our gratitude. It's a very spontaneous act. It's a very spontaneous act that we celebrate out of our gratitude towards these noble saints who unconditionally showered all the grace on us and revealed these wonderful Vedas in such simple Tamil compositions, and without any need to spend a lot of time in understanding all this various things like Shadanga, where for the Samskrita Vedas, you have to know Vyakarana, Nirutta, Chandas, Jyotisha, Kalpa, Siksha, all those things. Whereas when it comes to Tamil, Arul Ayiram in Tamil Padinan, down to earth, in such a simple language, with utmost clarity and very much to the point, unambiguously, without an iota of ambiguity. That's the greatness of these artworks. When it comes to Nammalvar in his Thiruvaimozhi itself very clearly says, this Thiruvaimozhi is mainly delivered for the great devotees as a feast for them. Tondar Kamudunna Cholmalegal Sunnin. It's a sumptuous feast, not for the tummy, but for the ears. Only when the food for the ears stop, then the noise from the stomach can be heard. Craving for the food. So the first food means only jnana. That's what our literature says. Food is jnana. When that stops, ajnana starts. There is a direct connectivity between the ear and the stomach. It's a mutual agreement wherein the relationship is mutually exclusive. Either you work or I work. And it's a mutual agreement. So it's quite an interesting phenomenon where you hear great things, good things, you don't feel hungry at the tummy. That's the truth. Right? So Nammalvar says, Tondar Kamudunna Cholmaligal Sonne. The whole Thiruvaimozhi was delivered for the devotees to enjoy as a sumptuous feast. That means those who cannot eat Thiruvaimozhi through their ears all the time. Anniyasir Maran Kalai Unavaha Petrum. So says Manavala Mamunigal, who took that line not just literally, but in the true spirit. He took the Tondar Kamudunna Cholmalegal Sunnin in the true sense and he lived like that. Just hearing Thiruvaimozhi and its commentaries by the great preceptors is the food, is the meal. And that's what he had expressed in the statement, Maniyasir Maran Kalai Unavaha Petrum. Then Manavala Mamunigal in return makes a statement in Thiruvaimozhi Nutrandadi. Swamy says, Ennudane Madhavanai Yethum Yenum Kurugur Mannarulal Marum Shanmam. Many people quote Azhwargal, saying that Azhwargal has told like this will happen, that will happen. We used to say, it's a holistic approach. What is a holistic approach? You go to a school. You go to a school. They say you have to wear uniform. Okay. You have to pay the fees. Okay. You have to buy the books. Okay. You have to study. Okay. Then this person says, after joining the school, I have paid fees. I am wearing uniform. I cannot study. No, it's not like that. Okay, I will study. I'll pay the fees, but I won't wear uniform. Sorry, we cannot allow you inside. Okay, wear the uniform, I'll study, but I won't pay the fees. No, doesn't work like that. It's known as samuchaya. You have to pay the fees and you have to wear the uniform and you have to study. So it's not like you can skip one thing and still work out other things. No, that's not possible. Similarly, when it comes to Purvacharya's work, you cannot select something at random and say, I will follow this. No, it doesn't work. It is known as samuchaya. In technical language, like computer or mathematics, we call it as a and. It's not an or, it's an and. A&D. Right? So everything has to be followed. Even if one is not followed, it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. As simple as that. It's a binary. That means the answer is, if Alvar has told 10 items, 10 things, if Alvar has gracefully delivered 10 things, 10 orders, you cannot say that I will follow 9 out of 10. You cannot say I will follow 1 out of 10. It's a binary. Whether it's a 9 out of 10 or 1 out of 10, the answer is 0. Only when it is 10 out of 10, the answer is 1. So it's either 0% or 100%. 100% is only when it's a 10 out of 10. So why do we say this? Because many people quote Alvars without a second thought. Take things for granted and not only deceive themselves, they are also getting others into a serious trouble by misleading or misguiding. It's a serious issue. That is why those who have not undergone a proper schooling in this system, in the traditional Vaishnava system, should not be allowed. They should not be, those who have not undergone the realization mechanism through a proper guidance under a very appropriate and suitable preceptor. They should not be allowed to convey these esoteric meanings to the society at large, because not because it is wrong, but it's because it will mislead people at large. It's a serious danger that many people are venturing into by telling things at random. Swamy Manavala Mamunigal says in Thiruvaimozhi Nootrandadi, Ennudane Madhavanai Ethum Enum Kurugur Man Arulal Marumsam. What does it mean? It means, Swami says that, Alvar says, you celebrate that Lord Sriman Narayana along with me. Ennudane Madhavanai Ethum Enum Kurugur Man Arulal Marum Sannam. That means you should go to Perumal only along with Alvar. You should go to Perumal only with Alvar. Right? Many people say, Maindarum Vinegal Dame Madhava Yenna. Alvar says. You say Madhava, all your sins will vanish. They will perish. Okay? Many people are having the name as Madhavan. What happened to the sins? It's not like that. Maindarum Vinehaldame Madhava enna. When Alvar says Madhava, Madhavan endrade kondu enna ini parpattathu. When he says Madhava, our preceptors say that Alvar is actually doing Anusandhana of Dvaya mantra when he says Madhava. When Alvar says Madhava, he is actually conveying us that he is just done the Anusandhanam of Dvaya mantra. Swamy Nammazhwar says, when Alvar says Madhava, it means Dvayam. Number one. Number two, you should tell Madhava or the Dvayam the way Alvar says. Not merely the words. That will not help. Because the same Madhava has been mentioned in so many Puranas. What happened? In Sri Vishnu Sahasranama, there is a verse that says, Yasya smarana matrena janma samsara bandhanat vimuchyate. Upon just remembering whose name, just by remembering, the entire clutch of samsara will be removed. Vimuchyate. You'll get relieved from the clutches of the mighty clutches of samsara. Namastasmai Vishnave means that Vishnu. So you remember Vishnu, why samsara is not leaving you, why you are not a mukta instantly. There are so many things behind all these things. It's not a simple and straightforward things, or it's all because of the challenges in the society that we see is mainly because of so many illusions created by the dramas and cinemas, where they show everything will happen just like that in a miracle with some lightning and some sound. We always see all these illusions and then think that something like that will happen. It never happens. Even Shivachana Bhujana Divya Shastra, Swamy Manavala Mamunigal very clearly explains in his commentary that when you are with your Acharya, a qualified Acharya, the Jnana Bhakti Vairagyas will come in the exact order in which it has to come. And it will progress organically. It will not suddenly happen like some miracle. One fine day you will suddenly get everything. It doesn't happen like that. Kramena அவற்றை வளர்த்து கொள்ளலாம் ஞான பக்தி வைராக்கியங்களை. So it happens in a sequence and it progresses very organically. That is why this is known as farming. Farming. This farming is being done by the Supreme. He is known as Bhakti Uravan. Bhakti Uravan. He is the one who is doing this harvest. He is the one who sows the seeds. He is the one who pours the water. Sowing the seed is Srishti. Pouring the water is giving the grace. Removing all unwanted plants is Pratikulya Nivritti. And then finally the harvest is known as moksha. That means if this example is being used by the preceptors, it means the growth has to be organic. You don't put the seed today and tomorrow you don't do harvest. It doesn't work like that. And it just doesn't make sense as well. Because this is the design that he has structured. It has to progress only in that way, not in the way that we think or we like. So when we were talking about this grace, we were mentioning that somebody said, why God doesn't give us grace immediately? Why Perumal does not give grace immediately? He said, he is giving grace. Grace is like water in farming. Unfortunately, you have a lot of weeds around you. The water will also feed the weed. A thief goes and prays to Perumal, please bless me that my business goes well. If Perumal gives grace to him, what will happen? Perumal gives grace, what will happen? His robbery will do well. So you have to understand what is grace. Grace is like water for the field. The most important thing is that you should eliminate the weeds, because weeds, they grow faster. They reproduce faster. And they deprive the main crop of the nutrients that it deserves. Similarly, when Perumal gives grace, if you have the pratikulyas, the anti-stuff, they will also grow. They grow faster and they reproduce faster, thereby not allowing you to progress at all. Water can be fed from one place so that it falls to the entire field. But the weeding process has to happen by personally going near every crop and removing all the weeds around. You can't say, I will pour water from here, I will also de-weed from here. It doesn't happen. So every crop is actually like a jiva. It's the same Perumal who was pouring water from a common point, who comes as the person who removes the weeds, Acharyan. Who will personally ensure that every weed is removed. That means you don't have to do anything to get the grace. Grace is already available. Weeding also you don't have to do, because the one who is pouring the water, who had sown the seed, will do the de-weeding as well. Except that in the case of the crop, it does not crave for water, nor it opposes when the water is being poured. Because its Chaitanya Vikasa is Sankuchita, that is, its Chaitanya is shrunk. It doesn't talk, it doesn't stop. The body that it has is very simple. Give me water and I'll go, but I won't come and ask for water. When water comes, I wouldn't say no. Whereas for us, with this body, we have both the abilities. Ask for things, deny things. So when it comes to us, we should clearly involve ourselves in denying pratikulya, not denying the grace, but we are denying the grace. But how? By performing those which are pratikulyas. Pratikulya is that which is against your swarupa or your path of liberation. That is against that. That will delay or deny the liberation. When you do pratikulyas. For example, apachara. If you do apachara, you will be thrown away. Kshipami. Nakshamami. Kalpakoti shatenapi. Nakshamami Vasundhare. I don't forgive those who are having enough knowledge and still are involving in hurting my devotees. Bhagavata Pachara. Samharati Akhilam Jagat. I will destroy this entire universe. If it comes to somebody hurting my devotee, I am okay to just erase this universe that I created. Just doesn't make sense to me if any of my devotees is really being hurt. To that extent, Perumal gets totally upset when we involve in such stupid act, particularly when we are knowledgeable. When we are not knowledgeable, when we have not progressed in our spiritual track, it is okay. The consequence will always be less. There is a drunkard on the road and he is using all abusive languages. What do we say? We say, you know what? He's a drunkard. It's okay. That's his nature. But if the same thing is being done by a prime minister or a chief minister or somebody who's having a very responsible position, a collector or somebody, or a judge or a police officer who behaves like the same person, the country will not tolerate that. It's a serious offense. But what if the person asks, like, when drunkard is doing all this, why I shouldn't do? I am also a citizen. No, you cannot. Because you are committed to certain things, you have earned that position, and you ought to be behaving in the way that matches with the authority and the level that you have been granted. So the more you progress in the spiritual side, the more you should be very careful. Otherwise, you fall. The more you climb, the larger the fall is. Famous statement. They are known as Arudhapatita. Those who have climbed up very high and then who fell from there. So the more you climb, you should be more careful and your grip should be more. You cannot afford to make small or silly mistakes. That will cost your life. So Pratikulya Nivritti is something that should be done for everybody. And that cannot be done in conferences like this. These are all only just guidance to make people personally undergo such training from a qualified Acharya. So the job of Acharya is to do Pratikulya Nivritti. He has to remove the hurdles, all the disobedience and indiscipline and all kind of the evil. That will deny you moksha. That Pratikulya Nivritti has to happen. So similarly, as we said, unless we get rid of all these things, simply quoting Azhwargs and Acharyas and saying that they did like this, they had, we will also do like that. We will also definitely get moksha. Once you get samashrinam, guaranteed we'll go to moksha. Moksha is always guaranteed. The question is when. Could be this birth or next birth or maybe another 10 births. Definitely not like a Nitya Samsari, but definitely not on the next moment. Not until you keep yourself totally away from all the samsara ruchis. Until you lose the taste of samsara and until you gain a very good taste for the Supreme, the service to the Supreme. Unless these two happens, Paramarthi and Paramabhakti. Paramarthi is completely the total inability to stay in this samsara, in this body. Parama Bhakti is a complete kind of, we call it as pravanyam, it's Bhagavat pravanyam. That is, you become insane and you cannot be without seeing the Divya Mangala Vigraha of the Supreme. You just can't live without seeing that, the Anubhava, experience of that. So both should simultaneously develop. On one side, you should develop Parama Bhakti. On the other side, you should develop utmost Vairagya, that is Paramarthi. Without these two, you have to spend some more time in samsara. Maybe few decades, or it could be few janmas as well. That's a fact. Until this person loses the taste on all the things in samsara, Perumal will still continue to give him some births. There are pramanas for this. This is very clearly mentioned in Vilakshana Mokshadhikari Nirnaya. Coming back to Alvar and the celebration of their birthdays. Right? So this whole sampradaya is based on the great Alvar. Celebrating his birthday is a way in which we spontaneously express our gratitude. Why? Because otherwise, when people like us would not have any opportunity to even think of moksha. It is something very far-fetched. He brought it even to hopeless people like me. Nikkappaadu yen nenjul niruthinan. Nikkavediyar vedathinutkol. Yen nenjul niruthinan. So says Madhurakavi Alvar. He doesn't say adiyen nenjul. Yen nenjul niruthinan. It is his Naichya Anusandhan. People like me should say, even for the low life like me, he brought the whole crux of the Vedas, such a simple language, and delivered in such a way that it had such an effect. Vedas are the pramanas of highest order. They are the most powerful and they are the base foundation for our sampradaya. What is it that this is going to do more than what those Vedas could do? And for that matter, Thiruvaimozhi itself is a Veda. So how different is it, except that the language is in Tamil? What we don't understand is there are two ways in which we celebrate Nammalvar and Thiruvaimozhi. Two viewpoints. We say, only because of Thiruvaimozhi, we celebrate Nammalvar. Only because of Thiruvaimozhi, we celebrate Nammalvar. That means whoever gave us Thiruvaimozhi is Nammalvar for us. Another way of celebrating is, it's only because of Nammalvar, Thiruvaimozhi is celebrated. Whatever Nammalvar told is Thiruvaimozhi. Two ways. Now you have to remember that Thiruvaimozhi is Veda. Thiruvaimozhi is Veda. How we call it as Veda? One is through our Purvacharya's works, they have established that whatever is there in Thiruvaimozhi, there is a direct mapping with Vedic statements. Direct. In fact, same lines just translated in Tamil. To that extent, they have boxed it, they have documented it. And it is much more than what is there in the Vedas with more clarity. Vedas, there's a lot of ambiguity in Veda, in the sense it appears to be ambiguous for low lives. For sages, it's not like that, but for low lives, definitely there are a lot of ambiguities. It's not an easy task to understand Vedas. Whereas Azhwar's language is so clear, that is Thiruvaimozhi is so clear, that doesn't give any opportunity, no room for such ambiguities. Crystal clear in making statements. Kalimin Tundirgal, Karithu Tolimin. You have to get rid of Pratikulyas, then only you can get into the path of moksha. Azhwar very clearly says, Veedumin Mutramum, Veedu Seidu, Ummuyur Veedudayanide, Veedu Semine, Veedumin Mutramum, Sarva Dharman Parityajya. Ummuyur Veedudayanide, Veedu Semine, Mamekam Sharanam Raja. Correct. Straightforward. Such clarity. And in the first 10 pasurams itself, Nammazhwar says, Ayiratulippathum. As he begins the rendering the 1000 pasurams of Thiruvaimozhi, in the beginning itself it says, this is the first 10 of the 1000. The question is, if you have just begun Thiruvaimozhi, how do you know that it's 10 out of the 1000? Then we can say, Azhwar made a sankalpam that he will compose only 1000. So he says this is the first 10. Everything we can always give some answer, no? We say, no, it is 1000 that is there. So he's revealing. No. He would have made a sankalpa that he will do only 1000 pasurams. What is wrong with that? Okay. He is saying that he is going to compose 1000 pasurams. You are saying that he is not divine, he is just a poet. Okay. Then what about statements like this? Arivilla Airam. He says this 1000 is Nitya, it's permanent, it will never disappear. Not at the end, somewhere in the middle. Sol Vazhivilada Airam. It's flawless. How can you say flawless about the 1000 when you are somewhere in the middle only? You have not completed the entire 1000. Complete the 1000 and then say, challenge somebody that, see, it's flawless. You have not even completed 1000. How you could say that? Another thing, sitting under a tamarind tree, somebody would have taught. Who would teach a person who is born in the 4th Varna in those days? They wouldn't even care. If Madhura Kaviyalvar, who was in Ayodhya, could see a light in the south direction from such a far distance, why was that so many, the priestly clan, so-called Andanas or Brahmanas, not even one could see this great Nammazhwar? Because in those days, it's a very common thing. Today is entirely different. In those days, you belong to some other Varna, sitting under a tree. Who cares? Madhura Kaviyalvar did care. He cared only because Nammazhwar made a sankalpa that Madhura Kaviyalvar should come. Without Nammazhwar's grace, Madhura Kaviyalvar would not have come. So sitting under a tamarind tree, a person who belongs to the so-called 4th Varna, who is going to care? The person did not eat anything, not even breath. He is delivering 1,000 hymns and with a very clear statement like flawless 1000, eternal 1000, this 10 out of the 1000, You can't say he's a normal poet. This doesn't make sense. And with every line being directly mapped to the Vedas, we should understand the greatness of Thiruvaimozhi. Thiruvaimozhi is Veda, Nammalvar just revealed it. Now the question is, which one should be celebrated, Thiruvaimozhi or Nammalvar? The answer is both, as always. When Nammalvar was born, Thiruvaimozhi was also born. The point is, the Veda like Thiruvaimozhi will be revealed only by those people who are at the state of Swamy Nammazhwar. So Nammazhwar is an Adhikari Purusha. So says Swamy Manavala Mamunigal in Acharyargal. He says, like Brahma, Rudra, they are all Adhikari Purushas. They are not one person. The current Brahma, once he completes his term, another Jeevatma could have done penance and that would have gained that position. It's like a post of a prime minister or chief minister or anybody. Anybody can become like that based on their hard work and acceptance by the people and so many factors. Similar to that, you can do a lot of penance and can convince the Supreme and get the post of Brahma, Rudra or Indra. Those are all Adhikari Purushas. It's not one person all the time. Similar to that, in Acharyargal, it is said that Nammalvar is an Adhikari Purusha who came, revealed this Thiruvaimozhi Veda. So only those Adhikari Purushas can reveal that Veda, and that Veda only will come for those Adhikari Purushas in their mouth. Right? That means this Thiruvaimozhi Veda that has come through Alvar is in such a simple and easy language, easy for us to understand. That is not merely the greatness of that Thiruvaimozhi, because it is like Veda, and Vedas are already there in Sanskrit. What did it do for others? So there is something more than the language, not merely Tamil. You know what is that more? That more part is grace. Patyashriyaf prasadena prapta sarvagya sampadam prapanna jana kutastham prapatye shri parankusham. This person is not like other rishis who did penance and through their self-efforts had gained something. This is the person. Here comes the Nammalvar who was directly selected by the Supreme, Lord Sriman Narayana, who, out of his unconditional grace, gave the eternal wisdom, Mayarvara Madinalam, to Swamy Nammazhwar and revealed himself to Swamy Nammazhwar. So that grace from Perumal directly fell on Nammazhwar. And Perumal's intent of giving that grace to Nammazhwar is to also uplift many people like us. So the grace factor is the most important factor in our sampradaya. We need to understand that. It's not merely the text. Yes, it was in Tamil, but it is again 1,000. Once you get to know the details, then it is like so many things. Right? Artha Panchaka. Paramatma Swarupa, Jeevatma Swarupa, Virodhi Swarupa, Upaya Swarupa, Purushartha Swarupa. Getting back into the same detailed stuff. People say, we are tired of this. Already there is so much in the other Veda. Now with this also you started saying all these things. Where do we go? How do we address this? What we need to understand is only by the grace of the Supreme, Nammazhwar became like this, and Nammazhwar was also given the authority to deliver the grace to us. Maran Adipanin doing the one, Ramanuja. The whole Guru Parampara is a grace Parampara. They delivered the grace one by one after another. They handed over the grace. And they delivered the grace to all. We need to understand that. It's a grace Parampara. Now, without celebrating this grace, how much ever you celebrate Thiruvaimozhi or any other our preceptors' works, it makes no sense. Now, this Nammazhwar being the first receiver of this grace, and you being at the other end, where we are also the beneficiary of this grace, why would not we celebrate the birth of this great star, Nammazhwar, who was a direct selection of the Supreme out of his free will? I select this person. I want to give this grace, and I'm not answerable to anyone. I don't have to answer. The whole universe is mine. I've decided that this person will receive the grace. I'll show myself to him, and through him, I'll deliver this grace to everybody else. What a selection! What an opportunity! One single reason why we can celebrate Azhwargal is because he was selected by Perumal. That's more than sufficient. I'm not. You are not. We are not. We were not selected. Azhwargal was selected. Nammazhwar was selected. So let us celebrate. Now, the next most important aspect of Azhwargal, Nammazhwar, we need to understand this. Na bhuto, na bhavishyat. There's nobody before or after. There is nobody before or after, like Nammazhwar. That's what Swamy Nammazhwar says. So, what is unique about Nammazhwar? One is his grace. So, let us celebrate Nammazhwar because he has poured that grace to us in the form of Thiruvaimozhi. Nammazhwar's grace is Thiruvaimozhi, and Perumal's grace is Nammazhwar. Now, look at this. Let us dwell into an interesting vichara, inquiry. We talk about Vaikunta. We all say there's something called moksha. Vaikunta is there. Vedas say so. In Brahma Sutra and all it is there. There's a vichara on whether it is a separate place or it's a state of the soul here itself. Even now, many of us don't believe that there's something called as Vaikunta. Although we say that, we always think that maybe it's some kind of a very liberated state here itself. Some kind of that opinion is there in many of us. Right? Now, no matter how much you tell that there's a separate place called as Vaikunta, people go to, when they attain moksha, they go to Vaikunta and all. The question is, did you see Vaikunta? If you ask anybody, say somebody comes and says, hey, you know what? Forget Ramanuja Sambandham, you go to Vaikunta. Next question is, have you seen Vaikunta? No, I have not. Those who have gone there, have they come back and told you? No. You are just believing somebody. Yes. Belief is okay. Belief is okay. But when they themselves have not experienced that, how do you take their word? because somebody else has experienced. Somebody else has experienced. Tell me one person who has actually experienced and who has come back and told. Nobody. They all say, go to Vaikuntha, it will be like this, like that. But whereas when it comes to Nammazhwar, look at the beauty. The kind of faith he instills in us, unlike anybody else. He has thoroughly and completely documented his entire travel towards Vaikuntha. Sulvisum Panimugil Turiyam Murakkina. Kadal Alaidirai Kaiyaduthalina. What are all the things that had happened in his beautiful journey? Andamil Perinbathu Adiyarod Irundamai Vandu Avar Edurkolla Mamani Mandavat. What and all happened in the Paramapadam? What a grace that this person has showered on us by delivering this which was never delivered ever before by anybody who had directly experienced it. These are all some revelations by all these Puranas and all. They are all by Brahma and other rishis. None of these people have gone to moksha. Period. That means you can have reverence, but when it comes to faith, faith relies on authenticity. That means the only sampradayam that can instill at most faith in us is that sampradayam that is based on this beautiful, this great, this saint known as Nammazhwar, who has traveled to Vaikuntha, documented it, who has come back in the form of Archavatara to us to be with us forever. That gives us utmost faith because there is a person who has experienced it, who is not stating it, who has experienced it. He has shared his experience. How? He did not say, Sulvisum Panimugil Turiyam Murakkidum. He did not say. Murakkina. Kadal Alaidirai Kaiyaduthalidum. He did not say. He said Adidum. It means it will happen like that. No. Adina. I have seen it. I am a drashta. Not like others. With first-hand experience. And remember, he tells it at the end. After giving us enough grip on the fact that he tells only truth, nothing but the truth, through all his previous set of hymns. At the end, he says, all these things are not merely some stories from a person who has experienced it firsthand. What more do we want? What more do we want? What other sampradayam? I'm not aware, not to belittle other sampradayams, but do we even think there's a person like this in any sampradaya who has made it so simple in terms of the language and who has revealed everything that is there in the Vedas? Not just that, who had the first-hand experience of traveling to this so-called Vaikuntha, documenting it completely. Only to make us develop utmost faith. So is Vaikuntha there? Yes. Is there anybody who has seen it? Yes. Tell me what he has seen. Here is his experience. விதிவகை புகுந்தனர் என்று நல்வேதியர் பதியினில் பாங்கினில் பாதங்கள் கழுவினர். மாதவன் தமரென்று வாசலில் வானவர் போதுமின் எமதிடம் புகுதுக என்றலும் கீதங்கள் பாடினர் கிண்ணறர் கருடர்கள். Everything is in present tense. Paadinar, I mean, not in present tense, in terms of first-hand experience. I heard them singing in front of me. They invited me. It's not that they will invite, they would invite. This is what would happen. It happened to me. Right? So this is the greatest thing about Thiruvaimozhi. This is the greatest thing because this is the thing that will instill or it will complete the faith. Faith, only if it is 100% it works. It's binary. 99% faith is same as 0. It's either 100% or 0. So who can give you this much of assurance that these things exist? And you can go. வெங்கடத்துறைவார்க்கு நமவென்னலாம் கடமை அது சுமந்தார் கட்டே இடமிடராயவெல்லாம் கேசவா என்ன நடமினோ நமர்கள் உள்ளீர் நாம் மக்கறிய சொன்னோம். வைகுந்தம் புகுவது மன்னவர் விதியே அருள் பெறுவார் அடியார்தம் அடியநேர்க்கு ஆழியான் அருள் தருவான் அமைகின்றான் அது நமது விதி வகையே. Look at. Right? Are you able to hear?
Adin is able to hear. Or other Bhagavata is able to hear.
Yeah, Adin, yes, Adin. Adin, nalla ki kar Adin.
Right? So, it is important for us to understand the greatness of Azhwargal from this angle. It is known as Apti. Apti means trustworthiness. Aptar is the one who is trustworthy. How do I believe this person? What is the base to believe this person? Right? And when it comes to that trustworthiness, the person on the top, see again, as I said, it's binary. For all others, you can trust if you want, but you're serious enough. And when the time comes, you might ask, like, yeah, they say all these things, two sorts. They themselves have not told that they have seen it. Everybody says somebody has seen it. Everybody says somebody has seen it. Or they say, this will be like this, it will be like that, right? There is this beautiful saint, our Azhwargal, Nammazhwar, out of his bountiful grace, has showered his Thiruvaimozhi, wherein in the grand finale, climax, he has shared his personal experience of traveling to Vaikunta and its entirety. The entire travel has been documented. This is the greatness of our sampradayam. That is why emberumanar and his preceptors, they celebrate Nammazhwar like no one else. Nammazhwar is Nammazhwar, Advitiya, unparalleled. These are the things that we should relish, cherish, right? A very good reason why we should celebrate the birthday of Nammalvar. Now you see why they celebrate this Nammalvar Moksham every year during Adhyana Utsavam. You see why it is celebrated? It is because this has been documented by Nammalvar. So it reinstills the faith inside us every year, saying that yes, Vaikuntham is there. Alvar has gone there. He has documented it. So it is not like somebody says, I heard it. I heard somebody saying that person heard. It's not a Karna Parampara. Do you understand? Is anybody having any question in between? We can give a pause and then continue.
திருஞான சம்பந்த சுவாமி ஹேண்ட் ரைஸ் பண்ணிருக்கீங்க, கேள்விதான் இருக்கா?
I think he would have done it by mistake.
அப்படியே சொல்லுங்க சுவாமி.
That's okay. So celebrating these glorious personalities is very important aspect for us because we believe in grace. The grace will pass through this parampara to us only when we reciprocate it through gratitude. Grace does not need anything else. It requires only a simple response from our side. By changing one letter from grace to great, G-R-A-T, gratitude. Bhagavan is graceful and we should be grateful. That is all is expected. If you are not grateful, grace is full, but it doesn't work for you. This doesn't work. So that's the very basic response for anybody. Enandri kondraarkum uivundam uivillai seinandri kondra magarkum. When we are at a point when we really want to get out of this samsara, that time this helping hand called grace comes in the form of Nammalvar, his Thiruvaimozhippillai, through his entire parampara, the Guru parampara. When you don't reciprocate it with a very basic, totally a perilous and a simple response called as being grateful, called as gratitude, it's very sad. This doesn't make sense. Whereas on the other side, if you really know the gravity of your sins, you don't deserve anything other than hell, Naraka. Right?
Swami, Adian Parthasarathi, Adian joined a bit late today. I also one small Vinnapam Swami. Today is also Thirunakshthram Swamy Parasara Bhattar, Vaigasi Anusham. Can you maybe, Swami Devar, can you say Sila Vartikal about Parasara Bhattar and Nammalvar Swami? For 5 minutes.
We have been going through only that so far.
So, I might have missed it earlier.
Not an issue. You can continue listening and then the recording will be shared with everyone. So,
Bhattar.
So by celebrating the Thirunakshthtrams of our preceptors, Alvars and Acharyas, we reciprocate our gratitude and thereby we become a qualified recipient of the grace. That is all it is. Just enjoy it freely. Nothing else. It's as simple as that. So rather than actually reading the Purvacharya's Sri Suktis. Our Acharya used to always tell us out of his grace that read the Acharyas first. You read the Acharyas. You don't have to read their Sri Suktis. Read them. Enjoy them. Celebrate them. Celebrate their birthdays. Celebrate their birthplaces. Thereby you get everything else for free. And Alvar reveals that in his Thiruvaimozhi. He says, you people are learning everything like Veda, Dhyana and all you are doing. I did not learn Veda and the other things. I just learnt the Supreme. Karpar, Ramavirani Allal Matrum Karparo. I just studied only the Supreme. Not all your text. Once you study the Supreme, you get everything else for free because the whole universe, everything is his manifestation. Similarly, when you read, when we say read, is going through the Vaibhavams of these great Acharyas. That means the very first Kalakshepam that should happen in our Sri Vaishnava school of thought is on our Guru Parampara. Not mere text reading. Every aspect we should enjoy, we should celebrate, we should be taught on the greatness of those Alvars and Acharyas. So today we looked at one aspect. What a beautiful aspect, that the most biggest thing about Nammalvar that should be celebrated is the trustworthiness that he has established on Vaikunta by sharing his personal first-hand experience of his travel directly to Vaikunta. If somebody says, what if it was only his imagination? If you say that to Nammalvar, then pretty much everybody else will fall in the same line. If you don't believe Nammalvar, you should not believe anybody else. If at all you have to believe anybody else, that should be only Nammalvar. It's only that way. Because you can also ask the same question to anybody. Rishis and all, they just imagine something and they wrote. You can also say that. So that means those people are not adhikaris, not yet qualified, because their sins are dominating them. So they are not yet there in terms of the harvest. We need to understand that. When it comes to Swamy Thiruvaimozhippillai, there is no other Acharya like Thiruvaimozhippillai. There is no other Acharya like Thiruvaimozhippillai. Why? For so many reasons. You can map every Purvacharya to Swamy Thiruvaimozhippillai, saying that he is Nammalvar, he is Alavanda, he is emberumanar, he is Prameyam. In different aspects, he is everybody. Swamy Thiruvaimozhippillai is everybody. Right? Vaikasi Vishakam, he was born on the same star, month and star of Swamy Nammazhwar. That's one aspect. You can say his name is Shatagopadasa, original name. Whatever you see today in Azhwargal Tirunagari, the temple, everything was established only by Thiruvaimozhippillai Swamy. If not for him, we would not have got Swamy Nammazhwar's Archa Vigraha, nor any temple in Azhwargal Tirunagari. It was all just wild, first, with all trees and other things. He cleaned up the whole mess and he resurrected the whole temple. That's one great thing about Swamy Thiruvaimozhippillai. Resurrecting the entire Azhwargal Nagari is like resurrecting the sampradayam. Same way Swamy Nammazhwar Mamunigal went to Azhwargal Nagari and brought back Arulichel, which is actually the Pramana. This is Prameya, the Perumal and Nammalvar. Nammalvar is our Prameya. Right? Now, how is Nammalvar Prameya? Perumal is Prameya. Nammalvar is Pramata. No, that's not how it is. We'll give an example. There is a bowl. There is a bowl that contains grapes. And somebody is handing over a fruit in your hand and says, put it in the bowl of grapes. What would this fruit be? There is a bowl of grapes. Somebody is just bringing one fruit in the hand and saying, put this also in the bowl of grapes. Now the fruit that this person gave, what is that fruit? Naveen, any guess?
Badala Swami Sure. Kelly was a Swami.
Yeah. There's a bowl of grapes. Somebody is giving one more fruit and says, put this also in the bowl of grapes. What will be this fruit?
Grape, most probably.
That will also be grape only. Otherwise, he will say, put this also in that. Now, the entire Arulichel is about Perumal. All Alvars held only Perumal in the entire Arulichel. Do we agree? Now, Madhurakavi Alvar did Kaninu. That is only about Alvar. Vaitha Tirumandiratin Matima Mampadam Pol Sirtha Madhurakavi Shaigale Arthapugal Acharyargal Tangal Arulichel Nadive Servitar Tatpariyam Thir. So they inserted this Kaninu Chirtambu, which is only about Alvar, in Arulichel. What does it mean? Kaninu Chirtambu says only Nammalvar is God. Tevu Mattariyan Kurgur Nambi. Naturally, it means Alvar. Yeah, go ahead.
The same analogy, the grapes. So basically, we're adding Nammalvar is Perumal. Perumal and Nammalvar are not different.
Exactly. So Nammalvar is actually Perumal. Otherwise, they wouldn't give that, extolled position to Kaninu Chirtambu. Now they added Ramanuja also to that. What do we say then?
So all three are indistinguishable. They're all three are same. Ramanuja, Nammalvar.
All three are indistinguishable in one sense. They are distinct in another sense. That Kaninu Chirtambu is the Namah Padam of Tirumantram. That's what they say. That is Upayam. But when it comes to emberumanar, Namajutandadi is added at the end. That means it comes as the Ayapadam. That means he is Upayam, literally. Emberumanar is the final destination. You need to understand. So Alvar is Prameyam for us, not merely Pramata and all. He is Prameyam. Prameyam, Pramanam means that Pramanam is actually scale. Pramanam is scale. Whatever we call as Pramanam in Shastras is known as the scale of truth. Pramanam means literally scale or measure. Say when you cook, they'll ask how much of salt. Further, they'll ask uppu evlo pramanam. Evlo pramana uppu podum. They'll ask how much pramana of salt you should add. What is a measure? Pramana means measure. Measure of what? Shastras deal with truth. Measure of truth. So how true is the truth? Right? You need to understand. Now, how true is the truth? What is the truth then? The first truth was Sriman Narayana was supreme. The more you drill, it is Azhwargal. The more you drill, it is actually emberumanar. The more you drill, it becomes forever. It goes like that. How true is the truth? So, similar to Natha Munigal, he resurrected the whole Srivaishnava sampradayam. Similar to Alavandar, who was completely transformed by Manakal Nambi, Thiruvaimozhippillai was completely transformed by Dasa. Same way, Manakal Nambi went behind Alavandar. Dasa went behind Thiruvaimozhippillai to transform him, bring him back to the Guru Parampara lineage. Like emberumanar, who was blessed by Alavandar remotely. Thiruvaimozhippillai was also blessed by Pillalokacharya remotely, saying, Am Mudal Vanivan. He is the next. Swamy Thiruvaimozhippillai learnt the sacred texts from two most, he also learned from others, but two most important disciples of Swamy Pillalokacharya. One was Kurukulattumadasar, the other one was Vilanjole Pillai, who was in Thiruvananthapuram. He belonged to one of the very low castes. In those days, they never were allowed inside the village. So Swamy Vilanjole Pillai was living in a hut completely outside of Thiruvananthapuram. When Thiruvaimozhippillai went there to meet and learn under Swamy Vilanjole Pillai was in meditation. He was meditating upon Swamy Pillalokacharya. And see, it seemed that he was meditating for many days that spiders had actually spawned webs on him. He was filled with spider webs. He was in such a state where he was doing gunanubhavam without knowing what was happening around his body on Swamy Pillalokacharya. Then see how great was Swamy Pillalokacharya. Right? So Swamy went there, Thiruvaimozhippillai Swamy went there, and he learned all this, many sacred scriptures, texts, many secrets actually, esoteric rahasyas from Swamy Vilanjole Pillai. Thiruvaimozhippillai learned. One day, inside the Anantapadmanabha Swamy temple, the priests were there, and when they opened the temple and when they went inside, they saw Swamy Vilanjole Pillai performing a Dirgha Danda, that is, he was prostrating before the Anantapadmanabha Swamy, Archa Vigraha. They came out shouting, a person from low caste has entered the temple. When they came out, they saw Swamy Vilanjole Pillai's disciples outside standing. The priest asked, why you people are standing here? They said, our Vilanjole Pillai has left to Paramapadam. So we came here for getting the Mala Maryada for our Swamy from the Anantapadmanabha Swamy. Priests were stunned because they saw Vilanjole Pillai going and prostrating before Anantapadmanabha Swamy. But the fact is, he had already left to Paramapadam. Before going there, he had come with his divine body and he had done this and he had left. Look at the grace he had showered on those people who called him as a low caste person. Right? Then, at that point, because Thiruvaimozhippillai was there, he did Brahmameta Samskara for Vilanjole Pillai Swamy, the same way Periyanambigal did for Maranyan. So now you look at the greatness of Thiruvaimozhippillai. So many, Acharyas are into him. He is personification of all the Purvacharyas before Manavala Mamunigal. Other two things which are very unique to only Thiruvaimozhippillai. that nobody else had. This uniqueness. Actually, three uniqueness. The first two things, once we say, the third one will follow. Number one, nobody in our Oranvadi Acharya Parampara, nobody in our Oranvadi Acharya Parampara, except for Thiruvaimozhippillai, had gone and learnt such secret texts through Upadesha from an Acharya of other Varnas. Nobody has done that. And in particular, somebody of such low Varna from a Samanya Drishti. We should not even talk about Varna of such great people. It's such a sad state of affair that we have to explain this for people to understand, but it's a nasty thing. That's the first type of Bhagavata Apachara that is described in Srivachana Bhushana Divya Shastra, that those who are seeing the caste of great Sri Vaishnavas, they are the first set of people to be thrown away by Perumal. He doesn't care. He throws them out. Right? But again, for making people understand, I have to indulge in such apachara, and if some people will get transformed because of this, it's okay for me to undergo whatever the repercussions are. So no other person other than, no other Acharya other than Thiruvaimozhippillai in the entire Oranvadi lineage had gone and learned under an Acharya, or at least even declared somebody as an Acharya of a lower caste. Emberumanar tried to do that under Thirunakshthram, but Thirunakshthram did not allow that. Number two, Pillai in those days is a very casual term that is used. Today we say, right, and the paina kubdu, in the paina kubdu. Like that, in those days they'll say this Pillai, that Pillai. The name of Thiruvaimozhippillai Swami was, original name was Shatakopadasa. But because of his love towards Thiruvaimozhi, of his utmost attachment to Thiruvaimozhi, wherein he always was enjoying only Thiruvaimozhi, be it in Anusandhana or be it in Kalakshepa or Pravachanas, nothing but Thiruvaimozhi. He was called as this Pillai is Thiruvaimozhippillai. That's how the name was designated for him. They called him as Thiruvaimozhippillai. Always talks about Thiruvaimozhi. Such was his attachment towards Thiruvaimozhi. Nobody in the Oranvadi lineage had this unique name based on Nammalvar's Thiruvaimozhi. They might have heard the name of Alvars or Acharyas, but not the name of Divya Prabandha, that is Thiruvaimozhi. And you must understand that in our Purvacharya's world, Thiruvaimozhi is one step above Nammalvar. No doubt that Nammalvar was selected directly by Perumal. Nammalvar was the grace that we received. Or keep Nammalvar aside. Perumal poured his grace to Nammalvar. So Perumal's selection was Nammalvar. Whereas Thiruvaimozhi is Nammalvar's grace to us. Right? Thiruvaimozhi is Nammalvar's grace to us. We need to understand that. Now, if Nammalvar, he went through Vaikunta, the travel, he was brought back, all those things are okay. But if he had not told that, who would believe all these things? So, without Thiruvaimozhi, Nammalvar would also have been yet another mythical person. Because people will say, yeah, somebody says Nammalvar went to moksha, who knows? That means Thiruvaimozhi is placed at a higher level than Nammalvar. Except for Thiruvaimozhi, no other Divya Prabandha has a Taniyan that is designated directly only to that Divya Prabandha. For Thiruvaimozhi, when you recite the Taniyans, the first Taniyan is directly on only Thiruvaimozhi, not on Nammalvar. Bhaktamrutam, Tondarku Amudu, Bhaktamrutam, Vishwajananamodanam, Sarvarthatam, these are all names. Shri Shatakopa Vangmayam. Thiruvaimozhi is not simply something that came out of Shatakopa. Sahasra Shaka Upanishad Sama Agamam. It is equivalent to Sahasra Shakas. Upanishads of the 1000 Shakas, 1000 branches of Samaveda. Samaveda is said to have 1000 branches. And in each and every branch, there will be Upanishads. That is the Vedanta portion. So 1000 Vedanta portions in Samaveda belong to each and every branch. And every Pasuram in Thiruvaimozhi, one Pasuram is equivalent to one branch which contains so many mantras. So think about the greatness of Thiruvaimozhi. Somebody says, hey, this person is equivalent to 10 elephants. They say he is equivalent to 10 elephants. It doesn't mean equality. Doesn't mean equality. In technical term, it is equality. But from a functional aspect, it is a greatness of the person. Similarly, one Pasuram here is one shaka of Samaveda Upanishad means just 4 lines contain the whole crux of an entire Vedanta portion of a shaka of Samaveda. Look at the greatness. Sahasra Shaka Upanishad Sama Agamam Dravida Veda Sagaram. It is Dravida Veda ocean. Okay, what do we do with that? Namami Aham. It's not a Namami to Nammalvar. It's a Namami to Thiruvaimozhi. No other Divya Prabandham has earned this respect. No other Divya Prabandham has earned this much of respect. In Ramanuja Mukrundadi, Thiruvaranga Tamudana, while saying that Ramanuja is the follower of Poigiyalvar, Pudattalvar, Peyalvar, like that he has been telling. When it comes to Nammalvar, he says, not about Nammalvar, he talks about Thiruvaimozhi. Uruvaran Shelvamum, Tandayum, Tayum, Uyar Guruvum, Veridar Pumagal Nadanum, Maran Vilangizir, Neridarum, Sendabal Araname. He says, the great preceptor Guru, Supreme Lord, Mother, Father, name anything. Everything is not Nammalvar. Nammalvar's Thiruvaimozhi. For whom? For emberumanar. Because they are Pramanikas. They believe on Pramanam. Faith is instilled by only Pramanam. Because Pramanam is the measure of scale of truth. We celebrate Alvars because the Pramanams came out of it. But our source of truth and the cause of faith in us is only the Pramana. You need to understand that. Pramana instills faith. Pramana is the source of truth. The more the truth it has, the more the faith it instills in us. Right? Then why do we celebrate Nammalvar? Because he is the one who gave the Pramana. Without him, the Pramana would not have existed. In the Mudaltai Shadagopan. Moimbal Malate Dattai Ramanujan. They are the parents. They are the parents. Nammalvar is the mother. Perumal is the father, naturally. So Thiruvaimozhi has such a extolled position where our Guru Acharyas first prostrate Thiruvaimozhi before even talking about Nammalvar in the Taniyan. The only other great Shastra that has this position is Similar to Divya Prabandha, it is Divya Shastra, Shri Vachana Bhushanam, where the Taniyan says, Vande Sada Vachana Bhushana Divya Shastra. I prostrate always the great Divya Shastra known as Shri Vachana Bhushana. Only these two has such a position. That means Thiruvaimozhi is greater than Nammalvar. Who has had the name of Thiruvaimozhi? Nobody else other than Thiruvaimozhippillai. Being called by the very name Thiruvaimozhi because of his devotion, the depth of devotion he had towards Thiruvaimozhi, he was called as Thiruvaimozhippillai. Now these two are enough good reasons for emberumanar to make a decision. Emberumanar was actually deprived of an opportunity to demonstrate that a person who has jnana, qualified jnana, he can be an acharya despite being in any caste. He was not able to prove it. He has conveyed it in as many words, but he was not able to prove it because he couldn't personally follow it in that life. So he decided, I've got a great opportunity. Thiruvaimozhippillai is a person who has learned from Velanjolai. This is the person for me. I'll be born again. Become the disciple of this person. We all hail Manavala Mamunigal Swamy because Lord Ranganatha has become the disciple of Swamy Manavala Mamunigal. But that is nothing. Lord, Supreme Lord Emberumanar decided to become the disciple of Thiruvaimozhippillai. That means look at the greatness of Thiruvaimozhippillai. Right? In the Mudal Thai Shadagopan, first mother who gave birth to Thiruvaimozhi was Nammalvar. The foster mother who brought up the child, Thiruvaimozhi, was indeed Valartha Idattai Ramanuja. Now the mother of Thiruvaimozhi has become the disciple of Thiruvaimozhippillai. The mother of Thiruvaimozhi, Emberumanar, became the disciple of Thiruvaimozhippillai. Now, all the more reason for Ranganatha to go and fall at the feet of Emberumanar's solid incarnation, Manavala Mamunigal. So more than Lord Ranganatha becoming the disciple of Swamy Manavala Mamunigal, Swamy Emberumanar in the form of Manavala Mamunigal became the disciple of Thiruvaimozhippillai. Such is his greatness. His birthday was also on the same day yesterday, Vaikasi Vishaka. We need to remember that our Purvacharyas are to be celebrated at a higher order than the celebration for Alvars. Without these Acharyas, nobody would have known about Alvars. Who knew about Alvars other than a few before Swamy Nammazhwar? Without Nammazhwar, there is no sampradayam. Everybody would have forgotten about Alvars. So if we say somebody, we used to say in Tamil, we used to say, you are nallavar, our romba nallavar. What does that mean? He is good, he is too good. Means there is something lacking here. Similar to that, Manavala Mamunigal begins his Uday Satyamalai by saying, Azhwargal Vali, Aruli Chel Vali. Next line he says, Thalvu Adamil Kuravardam Vali. Azhwargal Vali. Long live the Alvars. When it comes to Acharyas, he qualifies with adjective. Thalvu Adamil. We celebrate those Acharyas who are totally flawless. Why do you have to qualify like that? It means there is something wrong with Alvars. What is that which is wrong with Alvars? Explanation is that when it comes to Alvars, although they celebrated the devotees of Perumal, at the end of the day, they fell for Perumal. Whereas Our Acharyas maintain one single stand. They fell only at the feet of Alvars. Udesrathamalai does not have any Perumal Vali or Tayar Vali. It has only Azhwargal Vali and it has Acharyargal Vali. Through the statement, Thalvadamil Kurovar Dambal. Thereby, they were in the true Charma Parvanishta, our preceptors. So, Thalvu Adumil. Those Acharyas who had not even a single flaw. Known as emphasis. That's the greatness of Manavala Mamunigal. He will not say this person is bad and that person is good. He'll say this person is good, that person is very, 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 very good. He'll say like that. Then we need to understand. Even if you say very, very, very good, that is easily understandable. He'll put it so subtly, he'll say this person is good, that person has not even a single bad thing. That's an even more subtle way of saying that the person who was first declared as good seems to be something missing there. This person is good. When it comes to this person, not even a single bad thing you can see. He says, so beautifully explained. Right? So those are the greatness of Nammalvar and Swamy Thiruvaimozhippillai. That's why Swamy Manavala Mamunigal celebrates Thiruvaimozhippillai like anything. Even Manavala Mamuni Swami's Ponadiyam Shengamalam, that is Swamy Koil Kandadiyannan. In his Manavala Mamunigal Kaninu Chirthambu, he begins by saying, Sirutra Sanjol, Thiruvaimozhippillai Shanmuhamum, Tarutra Margum, Talirai Padangalum, Tanmanathu Purithu Vaazhum Manavala Mamuni Ponnadigal, Paril Thanitha, Adiyen Sharan Endru Pattinan. Celebrates Thiruvaimozhippillai, then comes to Manavala Mamunigal. Pattinan Chammai, Thiruvaimozhippillai Padangale, directly celebrates. When it comes to Swamy Parasara Bhattar, it's Vachama Gocharam. Few things, whatever I know, I will blabber because only thing I know is just celebrate. Just celebrate. That's more than sufficient. By celebrating their birthdays, celebrating their birthplaces, by enjoying their vaibhavams, that is more than sufficient. That's more than sufficient. You will know everything. Celebrating glorious personalities will bring glory to the society. Whereas we celebrate all the things, Narasimha Jayanti, Varaha Jayanti, 2 times, 3 times, Chandramana, Sauryamana, this Jayanti, that Jayanti, all other Jayantis. When it comes to Purvacharyas and Alvars, at least Nammalvar Jayanti, everybody knows. Thiruvaimozhippillai, how many people know? Today, Vaikasi Anuja, how many people celebrate? Now, our old people did not celebrate properly today. I was very upset. Despite knowing, you should have developed that attachment towards them. Parasara Bhattar, there are 3 Tanyans in addition to Sri Parasara Bhattari, Shirangesa, Purohita, Srivatsanga Sutta Shriman, Shayase Mestu Buyase. This is the popular Tanyan. There are 3 other Tanyans that are mentioned in Guru Parampara Prabhavam. That talks about greatness of Swamy Parasara Bhattar. Sri Parasara Bhattarya Sharanam Samshrayemahi Yadvaktra Range Rangesha Goshtyam Brahmi Pranrutyati. I'll only tell the crux of the Tanyans because it's very difficult for many people to understand the Sanskrit part of it. Pramana Nakanidhinna Vadi Matte Mastakaha Rajate Nigaman Garjan Sri Parashara Kesari. These are Tanyans. Sri Parashara Bhattaryam Bhuyo Bhuyo Namamya Edatmana Swayam Rangi Bheje Kuresha Putratam. These are the 3 Tanyans. It is there in page 392 of Guru Parampara Prabhavam. Arairapadi by Pinbadage Perumal Jeeyar Swamy's publication, page 392. All these 3 Tanyans are there. Now, what are these 3 Tanyans? What do they celebrate about Sri Parasara Bhattar Swamy? Look at how they celebrate. Rangam means stage. In Tamil, it becomes Arangam. Rangam means stage. When Sri Ranganatha's Goshti, that is when Sri Ranganatha's Goshti begins, immediately there is a beautiful damsel who is dancing in a stage. There is a beautiful divine damsel who is standing, dancing very beautifully in a stage. Now they are asking, who is this divine damsel? That is known as Veda. What is this stage? It is the mouth. Of whom? Swamy Parasara Bhatta. Yad Vatra Range Brahmi Pranrityati. The divine damsel called Veda, it comes and starts dancing in the tongue of Swamy Parasara Bhatta. The moment he sees Lord Ranganatha, all the Vedas come to his mouth, start flowing like anything. Spontaneity could only be experienced. All this Rangarajastavam, Sri Rangarajastavam, Purva Shadakam, Uttara Shadakam and all those are leftovers, compelled from all those things that he had poured every day. We are the sinful souls because of whom he departed very early. If he had been there for another 50 years, there would have been nobody else like him. Sri Vachana Bhushana, Divya Shastra, in every possible place, be it Sutrakara or be it Swamy Manavala Mamunigal, the commentator, they are taking Sri Parasara Bhatta Swami's slokams only as pramanas everywhere because he is declared as Abhyukta Agreshara, person who is number one in the list of stalwarts and the most trustworthy Pramanikas. Abhyukta Agreshara. Parasara Bhatta Swami is celebrated like that. Because Vedas, they come and beg to come out of his mouth. The way he will throw out pramanas, you know how he throws the pramanas? There are huge elephants that have become wild elephants that cannot be controlled. And here is a lion that just breaks the skull of all these elephants just by its nails. What are these nails? Pramana Nakhanir Bhinna. Who are those elephants? All these people who come and argue, who challenge from other religions. Vadi. Matta Ibha Mattebha Mastakah. Just splitting the head of these elephants merely by the nails. The nails are pramanas, the heads are of the people who are coming and challenging from other religions. And then it roars. This lion roars like anything. What is that roar? It is Veda. After splitting the head of all these Vadis, this lion is sitting so majestically, giving a roar. And the roar is nothing but Vedas. Who is this lion? Sri Parasara Keshari. Look at this lion called Parasara. Look at the way he is sitting. His roar is nothing but Vedas. What does he do? With his nails, known as Pramana, he splits the head of any Vadi who are like wild elephants. Pramana Nakanirbhinna Vadi Mattebha Mastakaha Rajate Nigaman Garjan Sri Parashara Kesari. Just hearing this, look at the kind of experience that we could feel deep inside. What a kind of personality this young, beautiful Acharya was. And the third Tanyan is Sri Parashara Bhattaryam bhuyo bhuyo namamyaham yedatmana swayam rangi bheje kuresha putratam. So here is this Sri Parashara Bhattarya to whom we do our namaskarams. Who is he? None but Lord Sri Ranganatha directly, who became the son of Swamy Kurathalwan. That's why he is called as Ranganatha's son. He is the gene of Ranganatha directly. In his childhood, there is somebody who claims himself as Sarvagya Bhatta. And he comes in a palanquin. And everybody says, here comes Sarvagya Bhatta, here comes Sarvagya Bhatta. The problem with all these pundits, scholars, our Swami used to say, in all very great intelligent personalities, there will be a fool inside. Some great, they would have done PhD, there would be scientists and all this. They will believe that Horlicks will do something for them, for their children. Complan has 32 something, they'll say, in the advertisement, they'll say Complan has 32 vitamins. They'll believe and buy it for them. No, it is not there, but they'll believe it. Huh? We all know it is nothing but the remains of the wheat. This is Horlicks and all with some added sugar. That's how we used to know in those days. But they'll think that it will give some extra nutrition, something that they'll buy. But when you go to their office, you will find that they are great personalities, scholars. They'll be talking about so many things academically. Similarly, this person Sarvagya Bhatta comes, they claim everybody who's, bearing him on the shoulders. Hey, Sarvagya Bhatta is coming. Alert. And Parashara Bhatta Swami, he was a very small child. He was playing on the street. He got upset that somebody is claiming himself to be Sarvagya Bhatta when Embar, Kurathalwan, emberumanar are there. He got really wild. He said, hey, stop. In his beautiful child language, he said, hey, stop. And the Sarvagya Bhatta said, hey, some child is talking. Are you Sarvagya Bhatta? Yes, I am Sarvagya Bhatta. Okay. Takes a handful of sand. He says, tell me how much sand is in this. This person is annoyed. He is a very learned fellow, no? How will we know? What if we say 100 grams? What if it is having 102 grams? What if we say 50 grams? How do we know? All these things. Then he says, he is annoyed. He says, I don't know how much. You are a most unfortunate soul in this world. You could have just told that it is a handful of sand and you could have retained your Sarvagya Bhatta name. As simple as that. Then he is asking, who is this child? Then people are saying, he is Kurathalwan's child. Oh, naturally, the chicken of the flying bird, will it crawl or what? It will also fly only. So this is the son of Kurathalwan. So naturally, it is reflected in his behavior. Now the question is, what is this logic? Handful of sand. Is there a measure like that? I had this doubt for many years. Because we say measure means should be in some kilos or grams or in some containers. In those days they'll say arak, padi, like that. What is this handful? Then when I had the opportunity to serve at Madapalli, Perumal of Perumal for some months, less than a year. There was a logic. When they were cooking prasadam, they said, for each padi is a container. Padi is a container. For each padi of rice, right? This, where in whichever rice salt is added. If it is Shuddhanam, we don't add salt. It is Dadyannam, that is curd rice, or this Pongal, you have to add salt. How much salt? I asked. They said, For each padi, one pidi, one handful. So it's a measure actually. It is actually a measure. Oru padi arsiki, oru padi salt. For any kind of, it's not only in Madapalli, it's a terminology used in kitchens. So wherever appropriate, where salt should be added in whichever type of prasadam, for that the logic is oru padi ki oru pidi. Then I realized, look at this Parasara Bhattar Swamy saying, hey, you could have just told it's a handful of sand. And you could have retained this name as Sarvagya Bhatta. So what does that mean? What does that really mean? We need to understand. We should not simply say this and say that Sarvagya Bhatta was conquered by Parasara Bhattar Swamy. That's not fair. It could be a child's play also. But the fact is, what he says, you could have told this is a handful of sand and you could have retained the name. That means it does not matter how much you know. It really matters how simple you can think and how you can simplify things. How simple you can think and how you can simplify things. Instead of saying 100 grams, 200 grams, you say one handful measure. That's the easier way, because then somebody said, what if my hand is bigger? What if my hand is smaller? And my response was, if your hand is bigger, it doesn't become big suddenly. From childhood only, you would have known that your hand is bigger than the average size. So you know that your hand is bigger. Naturally, you will reduce the quantity a little bit. Your hand is smaller than the average size, then naturally you will add more. Common sense. Don't ask such silly questions. How can everybody's hand be equal? Don't ask this kind of thing. It's a logic. Right? If that is the case, the concept of container is entirely different from the concept of our measurement by mass. That's by volume. This is by mass. Containers are by volume. Okay? If some paddies are bigger, you might get less number of paddies or rice. Not as like that. So the crux is how much you can simplify complex things. The more you become technical, the more you make it complicated and challenging for practical usage. Similarly, Vedas might have it might give a lot of exercises to the brain, but how much you can simplify and put it across what matters. Otherwise, there's no point. You can be a great stalwart, but if you cannot bring it to the common mass, Vedaikum Pinnakum, it should come down to the most simple beings of the society. If only people who are academically qualified, if only those people can go to moksha, what is the point? It should reach out to every nook and corner of the society. That can be done only by those people who can absorb very complex things and then convert it into simple language without compromising on the essence. Language can be compromised. That's what Nammazhwar did. Vedas are very complex in terms of the language, everything, Sanskrit and all. Without compromising the gist or the essence, he delivered it. Arulkondu Adum Adiyavarin Burai. Arulinan au Arumarayin Purul. There, it's not Aru Marai. Aru Marayin Purul. Purul is very rare, very difficult to get. What did he do? Arul Kondu Ayiram in Tamil Padinan. He told it in as many words. That is 1,000. 1,000 means as many words. In what? Simple Tamil language. In Tamil Padinan. Arul Kandiri Ulaginil Mikkade. That this is the biggest grace in the entire universe. So no matter how much you have studied or learned, you cannot present it to the simple beings of the society. It's of no use. Right? These are all the greatnesses of the Acharyas, Swamy Nammazhwar, Swamy Thiruvaimozhippillai, and Swamy Parasara Bhattar. Let us celebrate this in as many ways as possible. Better late than never. Those who have missed it, they can use this opportunity to celebrate the glorious birthdays of these Purvacharyas even now in your mind. And we wish and pray that the unconditional grace of Swamy Nammazhwar, emberumanar, and Swamy Manavala Mamunigal, all the three are actually the one and the same. Much more and more and more graceful forms. We wish and pray these graceful forms shower their bountiful grace on all those people who are listening to this and those who are not listening as well. We assume that they will listen at some point in time. We hope. And we'll wind up with this. We'll wind up this session with this. Ponadiyam Shankamana. I have noted down all these questions. I'll respond to all these questions in the next session because this session was dedicated for the occasion of the glorious birthday of Swamy Nammazhwar, Swamy Thiruvaimozhippillai, and Swamy Parasara.
Dhanyavad, Swami. Dhanyavad, Swami.